Okay, this is a review of the new Microsoft Surface tablet, and I normally don't do tablet reviews, but this is a cool and exciting new product from Microsoft with Windows 8 coming out, and I figured it might be fun to sort of check out what's latest and greatest in the tablet world. And so this is going to kind of be a brief overview of my thoughts on this, and not in depth at all, but basically look at what I consider to be the pluses and minuses of this device, and how I would compare it to the leaders like the iPad and the Google Nexus line. So stay tuned for my thoughts on this guy as we jump right in. So on the surface of the Surface, there's a pretty well-designed, nice tablet. I like the weight of this. I think it's got enough heft to make it feel like a quality product, but it's not too heavy. It's a really nice aluminum back. This does speak of high quality materials and workmanship. You see the little Windows logo right here. The back has this cool little flip out stand, and so that allows you to place the tablet down and fold out the keyboard here and use it as sort of a laptop. We'll get into more of that later, but just as far as the build quality goes, you'll notice that there are USB ports and power adapters on the side, power buttons. So, overall the quality of the build is actually quite good. There's a 3.5mm headphone jack speaker right there as well. We'll rip off the cover here to show you that, and that's kind of cool. It's a little bit of a magnet kind of clip. The screen, the quality of the screen is nice. I'm not sure if this is Gorilla Glass or not, but just the overall look and feel, you can see the nice colors. Overall look and feel is quite good, I think. Microsoft did a pretty good job with their design on this. The 16:9 ratio is a bit strange. If you're holding it like this, and your thumbs and stuff are here, it's sometimes hard to reach everything. And so they've allowed you to split the keyboard. See that, which is cool. And I can go back and change it. But this is kind of hard to do. So you definitely do have to work with a split keyboard if you want to hold it like this and you want to do a lot of typing. And on the other hand, if you rotate it into the vertical mode, it gets even a little bit more strange. It might be good for reading newspapers or articles with this portrait orientation, but 16:9 in the long orientation is a bit weird. Continuing on with the hardware, you can see we have a front-facing camera right here. We have a rear camera right here, and the quality of those cameras are okay, but again, that's more for an in-depth review. There's a home button, which will wake up the device, as well as a power button, or a sleep-wake button, I guess you could call it, right there. That will also wake up the device. So if we press that, we're kind of greeted with the screen. We can slide it and it'll unlock it. And so, this is the standard Windows 8 sort of interface, Metro, or what used to be called Metro. You can also go back to like a desktop version of your OS, and so now we're in that. This Windows 8 is a whole nother thing to talk about in another review. But the positives and negatives of Windows 8 aside, I think the tablet actually does handle the operating system quite well. I think it's pretty smooth. I think it's pretty fast. The transition between different modes is quick, is fluid. I haven't noticed any lag, really, which is surprising. A lot of Android devices you'll see lag in, especially in the tablets. So I think the Windows Surface tablet does quite good in terms of what it does and how fast it does things. If I'm going to fire up Internet Explorer, you'll see it'll load. Here's a list of my recent tabs. I can close them. We can go here. We can go to the Anchorage School District website. I'll click it. You'll see it loads pretty fast. It's not pokey. It's not slow. It's the pinch to zoom is fluid, is good. So I think Windows 8 aside, the tablet itself runs quite nicely. I think it will provide people with a really good user experience. Now, whether or not you want to use Windows 8 is a question that you have to ask yourself. There's very limited apps available for Windows 8. There's very limited apps available for Windows RT because it's running its own version of Windows 8. It's not the x86 or x64 version that people are used to running on their desktop. So people have to be aware of what they're buying before they go out and buy a Windows 8 tablet and say, oh, well, I can't install AutoCAD on it, or whatever. So you have to pay attention to that and know that what you're buying is an RT tablet and not a traditional Windows desktop computer. But away from Windows 8 for now, we'll talk more about the user interface and how things are. As a tablet, it's pretty good. Like I said, it's smooth, it's fast. I like how you interact with the OS. I'm not a fan of the 16:9. I think Apple probably did a better, came up with a better idea with their 10 by 10 inch or 3 by 4, whatever their ratio is. This is okay. I think that a little bit more of a square device probably suits your hands a little bit easier, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But that aside, it's nice. It's good quality. The screen, I think, is quite good. It's not as high resolution as your Retina display or as your new Nexus tablets, but even though you can see pixels, the colors are nice. The screen itself is high quality. I like the screen. Windows has a weird way to display text in web pages and other things. There's something about it that doesn't look that good. And I've noticed this on like my Nokia Lumia phone. It's kind of the same thing. Like if you pick up a 1X and a Lumia and look at the text and fonts in the browser, it's just weird. It does something, makes it kind of overly sharp looking, if that makes sense, when you're kind of zoomed out. But back to the design. The keyboard, the sliding keyboard, folding keyboard thing is pretty cool. I like the feel of it. It's kind of a rubbery feel. If we fold it out and then fire this guy up, you'll see that you actually get a built-in mouse, which is quite responsive on this touchpad, and you get a left and a right click. This is pretty nice. If I go and just go back to Internet Explorer, this might be kind of hard for you guys to see, but I'll go down to the web page or the address bar here and just type Google, and hit return, and it's pretty snappy. You can rest your fingers on here, which is nice. That's different than a touch screen. So you can actually go here, rest your fingers on the keyboard, and then start poking, and it will, once you start actually typing the keys, that's when it picks up your keystroke. So that's kind of cool. So if I go to www.dpreview.com, it's fairly error-free. It's fast. If you're a touch typist, it's really good. You have some shortcut controls here for volume, for playing music, for the settings and stuff. Part of the Windows 8 OS, the share button. So it's nice. I actually really like this. I think this is probably one of the better designs I've seen. The other cool thing is that once you do this and fold it around to the side, it doesn't pick up your keystrokes anymore. So it's smart in that way, right? It knows now that you're using it as tablet, in a tablet mode, and so it kind of puts that keyboard away, and you won't touch it on the back. It doesn't give you any artificial or accidental input. So that's kind of cool. Here's where, even though I like the keyboard thing, and I like the little kickstand thing, here's where I have the biggest problem with the Surface. And that is, if I'm going to sit down and use this with this thing as a laptop, kind of laptop-esque with my, touch screen, mouse, and my keyboard, why don't I just use a laptop? This doesn't do everything a laptop can do. If I'm going to want to use this as a laptop, why wouldn't I just buy a traditional 64-bit laptop and be able to do work and actually do things on it, rather than just kind of play around and surf on the net and do other kind of tablet-esque things? So I think that's a big question that a lot of people have to ask themselves, and I get a lot of questions about that with my business. Is people want tablets because they're cool, but they want to do work on them, and so tablets are great, but in my opinion, there's nothing yet that can do it all. And as close as the Surface comes to being able to do it all with its tablet mode and its kind of hybrid laptop cover here, they're still limited. RT definitely does not have the software that traditional Windows 8 machines do. It's good. It probably will work for a lot of people, but the moment somebody tries to download an app that they're not going to, and they don't find it, they're going to be disappointed. Or the moment that they try and use Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and it's not really designed for the touch interface, they might be disappointed, and we'll just show you that real quick here. That's a good example of it. You know, this is the desktop mode. So again, Windows 8, you have two different modes. You have the Metro, or whatever they don't call it Metro anymore, but it used to be called Metro, and then the desktop mode. And so if we go into Word, you'll see that even though there is a copy of Word on here, which is cool, it's not really made for touchscreen. So you know, if you don't have this keyboard dock, to try and come in here and poke around on these little, you know, let me bring this closer to the camera. This is difficult because Office isn't made for touching, and so this stuff is tiny. And yeah, it works, but it's not really, you know, I don't know. You look at the design of a traditional tablet like an iPad or a Nexus 7. Everything's touch based, and this is kind of more hybrid touch and keyboard based, which goes back to my point that I just made, which is if you want this as a laptop to sort of do work on, just get a laptop to do work on it. But if you can deal with the limitations and you like the design and you want to spend the money, I actually do think it's a cool product. I give Microsoft a lot of credit. They went out of their way to try and do something different and something that competes with the iPad but still has a Windows feel to it. I think they did a really good job. It's just kind of not there yet. I think, you know, this definitely is a first generation product. It's definitely something that can be improved upon, but in my opinion, it's a step in the right direction, and I really like this. But you know, as a tech-heavy user and as somebody that is really into technology, you know, I have iPads, I have tablets, I have cell phones, I have laptops. I struggle having a hard time fitting this in because it's this kind of weird hybrid between tablet and laptop. And when I want to do work, I'm just going to go and use my laptop. And when I want to do tablet stuff, like with apps and games and, you know, other cool features of basically the coolest features of tablets are apps. So I think that Windows 8 is failing in both of those regards. You know, without having enough apps and without having a full-fledged laptop experience. So it's hard to describe these things, and I'm kind of rambling now, but I hope you guys have gotten a little bit of good information out of this review. And don't forget to check my other videos and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.